live. Okay. So to the folks on YouTube, apologies, but couldn't be helped. TNTech. Before I continue, who is this? Who is this clown? Don't admin, please don't block that. Don't block the individual. Who is this? DHANRSH. Dhanraj Sugrim, is that his name? Yes. He said, why you only studying Indian people? You're sounding worse than the Black King. You preaching race and then talking race talk about you. Let me tell you something, Dhanraj. All right? You hear me mention anything about race here? Apparently, in your sick, twisted head, the UNC is only East Indians. You all have quite a bit of persons of African descent supporting that party too, right? You hear me talk anything about race here? Everything for you clowns in that party is race. Everything, anytime. If it's not you, it's Anil, it's Naked, all of you supporters. That's the only thing you all could talk about is race, right? That's the only thing of not even substance. That's the only thing you all could point to continue to show up your support and talk about who talking race. You hear me here talking anything here about race? Where you hear me talk about race? I'm sick of you people and all this dotishness. Go from here with your nonsense. Don't block him. I want him to continue to listen to the policies of his party and his leader, right? And the nonsense that they want to offer this country as good governance. So don't block him. Let him stay there, right? Continue to talk your nonsense. You all are so disgusting and sickening with this stupid thing about race and race and race. We're studying about Indian people. UNC is not only East Indian. Maybe in your twisted mind, it is. Sickening, boy. Anyway, let me not get distracted. See, this is why I don't like to read comments. But anyway, idiot. No wonder your name is Dhanraj. I know another Dhanraj who was a clown just like you. You all don't have to listen here. Go on the Underground Report on 104.7 and listen to the lies that they tell there. Go there. That is what you all like to hear. Or go on Doglaya Politics. You know what you all love to hear about? Who's sleeping with who? And who pins small and who pants tight. That is the kind of stupidness that you all like to hear. Listen to that. Go and replay the UNC meeting from last night. Nothing of substance. Only trash. Garbage. Go and listen to that. Talking about race and everything. That's the all sick and all I don't know. Talking about who put preaching race. Look, anyway, I'm gonna get upset this morning. Come back to page 46. So I told you the intention, right? The first thing is to go after the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Yeah, and then last night the leader talking about they calling it. Well, she was talking about internally, right? The haters in the UNC. So yeah. They want to talk, the Doglaya want to talk about the PNM divided, but last night the leader talked about haters in the UNC who don't like her and who calling the elitists in the party who like to call the grassroots in the UNC all kind of names and say all kind of things about them. And then when there's an internal election, they come and fail to vote for your vote. Really? Yeah, exactly, Anne-Marie. Boycott them at the polls. That's all they're about, race. I will remind Dhanraj at the last general election and the outcome of the election when you all got a cocktail that you all thought you were going to win. Just remember whose party and whose supporters were on Facebook calling people cockroach and monkey and all of that nonsense. Who it was telling East Indian businessmen to increase the price of their goods for persons of African descent. Who was telling East Indian doubles vendors to put feces in the doubles for persons of African descent. They wouldn't talk about that. You clung. You forget about that. I'm always talking on I talk in race. I don't like this race talk. And anytime you hear me talk about race, it's to denounce clowns like you who like to push that stupid talk. Go from here with that nonsense. Shucks, we're talking about the policy of your party, but they classify it within race now. Idiot. Anyway, I continue. So Heritage and Stabilization Fund, the first thing they plan to do was to take the interest component of it and spend it on anyway. Spend it how they see fit. So they claim it's to pay off debts and pay off VAT refunds and all of them kind of thing. But they were going after the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. They go on to say, the legislation governing the HSF will be amended to delink the current integrated stabilization and heritage aspects of the fund. So they were going to break up the HSF. So no longer would it be called Heritage and Stabilization Fund. They would create a heritage fund separate and a stabilization fund so that they could reap the stabilization portion of it. Because right now the law says that the HSF balance cannot fall below 1 billion US. So at least there is some provision to ensure that the heritage part of the fund remains intact, right? So a UNC government could never reap that part. But the rest, they could thief. And they were planning to amend the legislation to enable them to be able to thief. We continue. They will establish an investment policy which will ensure that the various funds obtain reasonable returns within certain agreed parameters. These are the same persons who, between 2010 to 2015, had intended to bring legislation to indemnify the board of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund under the $10 million Minister of Finance. So, in other words, if it is the board and the fund managers had messed up the HSF fund and made poor investments, that an incoming government could not sue the board for malfeasance. They could not sue them for the poor performance of the fund. They did that. They wanted to indemnify the board, but today have plenty to say. When it is that we saw around the world in 2022, sovereign wealth funds around the world took a beating. The largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, Norway, suffered a loss of 164 billion US dollars. They have the best fund managers that money could buy. The best in the world managing their sovereign wealth fund, and they lost 164 billion. But we lost 900 and something million. I didn't really lose, it's a paper loss. Just the value of the assets. Some of the assets went down, and of course, you have to, at the end of the year, when it is that you're doing your reporting, you have to report based on the value at that point in time. The value of those assets have now gone back up, such that the fund has recovered some 700 million of that 937 million, 700 million recovered so far. But none of them are talking that on that side, right? None of the Douglas ain't talking that. Come and talk that 913 million US loss under this incompetent government, but you wouldn't focus. All the time she asking her, what is the balance? What is the balance? Well, all you like to file freedom of information request, well, file one now. File one on the central bank, on the HSF fund, on the Minister of Finance. And if you want to get what the figure is to date, since all you say the government lying, we can't trust Imbut, we can't trust Rowley, because Rowley said he wasn't closing down Petrotrin, and Rowley said he wasn't going to implement property tax. And right, she come back last night again with this inheritance tax nonsense, that the government plan to implement this 25% inheritance tax and that they will do away with it. If you see, and this is why I do understand, this is what I can't take with UNC, that you have to resort to telling lies in order for you to get support, because you know there's nothing else that you have to bind your support, your base. That's what they like to hear. You know, when it is you talk about taxes, oh yeah, think up this tax by tax. But if we had a responsible media in this country, journalists, they would have asked Mr. Spasari, could you tell us where you got this information from? Do you have any documentary evidence? Or if this is just something that you came up with one night when you were having your usual cocktails, right? And watching CNN, Fox News. Well, I wouldn't say MSNBC, right? Probably Fox News. Because it seems all of her strategies for governing this country appears to have a very Republican undertone. To ask her where did she get that information from? You call on the minister tell you the only thing he didn't use, the only thing he didn't do is to, anyway, let me keep it clean. Right? The only thing he didn't do is put a cuss in. He didn't put a few expletives inside the press release to tell you where to take that and where to put that. Right? Several press releases. The minister says you lie. You still come back with it last night. You put it up now on a slide. And every time you're going to Google now to look for something, you're seeing these UNC ads with these slides. So it's in your face, lying to the population about inheritance tax. Because what else you could do? The fact of the matter is that this administration increased personal allowance 3 times, something that your government never did for the whole 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that you were there. So this government gave tax relief, direct tax relief to the working class in this country, not just the working class, everybody. right? Once you were paying PAYE. So thousands of people who between 2010 to 2015 were paying taxes, PAYE, income tax, are no longer paying it. And thousands more are paying $7,500 less per year than under Kamala. But they wouldn't give Rowley praise for that. They wouldn't pat Rowley in the back. Yeah, he increased the price of fuel 3 times. Yeah, but he increased the personal allowance 3 times too. And Oli in riot. Oli in vex, no congratulations for that. Yeah, but you want to talk about tax and tire, they put tax on tire and online tax. Every Monday night, that's all she could talk about. They put tax on tires and online tax. Yeah, but they reduce tax too. They reduce VAT. Because under you, VAT was 15%. The only thing you remove VAT off of was a few basic food items. But now we're talking you remove VAT off of 7,000 basic food items. I wasn't even aware we have 7,000 basic food items. Do you all even know the meaning of basic food items? And I'm talking about that party here because I notice every time they have a meeting, every speaker who come out to speak had a define. You know what that mean? You know what that mean? Yeah. All of them. It is so, yeah. But anyway, I digress. Page 48. Let me pull up page 48 here. I want to hear this one. Restructuring state enterprises. Bearing in mind, I repeat again, Mr. Chance told us, treat it as if it's a general election. And that is what they're doing. They're selling you the 2020 manifesto with a few changes and telling you this is why you should vote for us. As she said last night, it's not just about changing councillors, it's more than that. They're setting the stage and the pace for 2025. So since they're going to do that, let's be examining here. And I hope Dan Raj, I hope you're listening to this one, Dan Raj, because you know all I like to say the PNM selling out the country and they're selling out all the country's assets. Well, hear this one, Dan Raj, page 48 of the UNC's National Economic Transformation Plan. There are currently over 100 state agencies and statutory authorities and their subsidiaries operate across the economy on behalf of the government as owner or part owner. This is a massive state involvement. The state enterprise sector is supposed to contribute to the economy through foreign exchange earnings, employment, dividend payments, and taxes. Instead, many state enterprises have accumulated significant losses, imposing a substantial fiscal drain on the treasury and a drain on the taxpayer. Let me repeat that. Instead, many state enterprises have accumulated significant losses through imposing a substantial fiscal drain on the treasury and a drain on the taxpayer. Right? Keep Petrotrin in mind. We have seen where state agencies have been mismanaged, aided and abetted by the government, where multi-billion-dollar claims have been withdrawn against friends of the PNM, including the famous Malcolm Jones and recent Ken Julian E-Tech claims. I intend to revisit Malcolm Jones comprehensively in the not-too-distant future. I hope Dan Raj will be listening when I deal with that. Those claims are brought to recover over $1.3 billion to people of Trinidad and Tobago as a result of PNM mismanagement, negligence, and incompetence. Yeah, well, it was as a result of UNC thievery and corruption. Right? It was this government that stands to gain over $1 billion with respect to the Piarco Airport. But don't they think it easy? If I thought Piarco Airport was bad, guess what? In this manifesto, as well, I probably ain't gonna reach it today, but it speaks of the construction of another airport in Piarco. Yes. So the current airport, based on what is in here, they plan to turn that into a terminal hub for only Caribbean flights. Yeah. So what is currently the airport? That will just be facilitating flights, regional flights, and then they plan to build another airport in Piarco for international flights to give you Piarco Airport Part 2. Yes, in this manifesto. Don't worry, we will get there. You think it's easy with these people? We have money to build. Now is not the time to build the Crown Point Airport. No, now is not the time to build the Tobago Airport. There are so many other things the money could be spent on people suffering. But in their manifesto, the 2020 manifesto, if it is that you had put them into office, and this is still going to be the 2025 manifesto, it was going to give you Piarco Airport number 2. Yes, good. He trying to derail. Yes, Anne-Marie, another opportunity to thief. Don't worry, I'll come into it in detail to tell all you. It's inside here. Yeah. Another opportunity for Isha and Steve. But I continue. So here's how they plan to deal with all of these state enterprises that suffering massive losses and not performing. Our approach, this is page 48 of their manifesto. Following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and make determinations, and determinations will be made on which enterprises will, one, which enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on to on behalf of the people. Two, which enterprises would serve the country better if they were out of government hands. Three, which state enterprises would do better as public-private partnerships. Four, which state enterprises which will assist with research and policy direction for government in terms of climate change, poverty reduction, volunteerism, heritage, cultural preservation, and awareness. Right? So they will decide, they would look at all these state enterprises, and the ones that they find not performing, not making money, they will decide whether they will close it down, whether they will sell it, or whether they will look for public-private partnerships in order to run it. That's what they're telling you, right? But they want to kill Rowley for Petrotrin. But in the 2020 manifesto, they're telling you here, we will do an assessment of all state enterprises, and the ones that suffering losses, like Petrotrin are suffering losses, we will either get rid of it, close it down, we would sell it, or we would look to have it run by public-private partnership. Similar, public-private partnership, the same thing in the government of Keith Rowley saying, we want to engage in public-private partnership to run the Port of Spain, that inefficient port where the scanner is not working, right? Because we have a board of management, the Port Authority, and the board of management running the port. We get them $91 million to customs excise to buy scanners. Since 2021, we're 23 and they can't buy scanners yet. So we're saying public-private partnership, the government will own the port, but we will bring in a private lessor, right? They will come, they will invest their money, they will buy new equipment and so on, scanners, maintenance, everything, they will deal with that. The port belongs to us, but they will lease it from us. They will run it, and they will pay the government rent, taxes, as the case may be, and we make money. So the state now doesn't have to take precious taxpayer money, right? Government revenue to run the port. It will be privately run, privately managed, but still remains as an asset of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. That they knock. That the supporters tell you, that is they only want to sell out the country, and they only selling out the country assets and the Chinese and all kind of thing. But here, black and white in their manifesto, let me read it again. Our approach, following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determine and make determinations on which state enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on to, and we will decide if we want to keep it or if not. Which would serve the country better if they were out of government hands, and which would do better as public-private partnerships. I wonder if Danraj could tell us what that means. Danraj, what that mean? You understand? Or do I need to treat you as if this is a Monday Night Forum and explain it to you again? Give you a definition, Danraj. You know what I mean? Sell it. Sell it, Danraj. Yes, it's right there in your party manifesto. Want to come talking nonsense about race. I continue. We will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. These functions should better be carried out by the business sector. You hear who? The business sector. But Rowley want to make the rich richer. Kamala telling you in her manifesto, all these state enterprises that are making money, and all these state enterprises that are draining the treasury, it's better if we give it to the same business sector. Because we as government, we can't run it. But put it in the hands of the business sector and they will work magic. And all of a sudden, they will start to make money. So we are not going to explore ways and means in which we could restructure some of these enterprises to keep it within government hands so it could make money. No. You know what we're going to do? We can't do it. So we'll put it in the hands of the business sector, sell it to them cheap, and then let them turn it around and make a profit, and we will just collect taxes. You hearing that, Danraj? Your government, not Keith Rowley saying that. I continue. They go on to say, we will transform remaining state enterprises to publicly owned companies. We will capitalize the remaining state enterprises, if necessary, placing up to 49% of their shareholding on the local stock market. For who to buy? Who to buy? The little black boys and them in Lavantel, the vulnerable youth in Beetham, yeah, for them to buy it, eh? Right. This will give citizens an opportunity to have a stake in their state enterprises, dramatically reshaping the notion of economic participation and wealth creation. You hear hypocrisy? When the PNM created the National Investment Fund, NIF, and they put Republic Bank shares inside there, Angostura shares and others. Remember what Kamala Prasad said? Don't invest in that. That is a Ponzi scheme. And if you put your money inside there, you're going to lose it. Don't say I didn't tell you. Don't bother to put your money inside there. What happened? Her supporters listened. Right? They didn't invest in that. Today, NIF has paid over $1 billion in dividends. Over $1.1 billion in dividends since 2018. So everybody who ignored her stupidity and went and invested money in NIF, yeah, every 6 months they get in a check. Every 6 months, money depositing into their bank account. And meanwhile, her supporters complaining about they eating grass. But maybe if Ole didn't listen to her stupidity and you had taken Keith Rowley's advice and invested your money in NIF, right? You would have been collecting dividend checks every 6 months that would have helped you to not eat grass. So continue to eat all your grass. Continue. I will continue. We will tender the management of publicly owned state enterprises to private companies in an open bidding with clear pre-qualification and evaluation criteria. Well, we know how their clear pre-qualification and evaluation criteria works. So if you want to know and you're not sure, just go and Google the what is called evaluation for the Beetham wastewater treatment plant and see how SIS get a contract. That is their clear pre-qualification and evaluation criteria. Yeah, probity, transparency. We will step away from government interference in these state enterprises and negotiate performance contracts with successful private companies to ensure that these entities are run efficiently while the government receives payment through taxes and dividends from profits generated. We must engender a business development approach with strategic financial objectives. Failure to make these objectives must have review and repercussions. The old days are gone. Undertake a debt workout strategy for selected state enterprises. State enterprise debt is continuing. All right, so all of that. We will establish a new centralized unit within the Ministry of Finance, staffed by experienced and capable individuals to oversee management of the debt workout strategy for these state enterprises. I wonder if it's the caliber of persons that they're recruiting as nominees and candidates for local government. If it's that same caliber they're going to use to staff these this new unit within the Ministry of Finance. So, see, their strategy is sell out state enterprises, do an assessment, sell it to who? Private investors, the business sector. But Rowley is the one who wants to make the rich richer. So under a PP, well, not PP, a UNC government, right? The business community, the business sector wouldn't have to take their money and build new businesses. The government and the state sector will be up for sale. So all let us come and see what it is we have to sell. Which company you want? Buy it, run it, and all will just pay us taxes. Yes. So they come to cost petrochin and think, well, all right. Under them, they say, well, here, you want to buy the refinery? Come on, buy it now. Come on, buy it. It's for sale. And what other state? You want to buy Wasa? Come and buy it. You want to buy TNT? Come through. Come through. Instead of these loss-making entities, because Wasa draining the treasury. Wasa for sale. That's what they're saying here. Come and buy it. Any other state enterprise that it have as well. Come and buy it for sale. But the PNM selling out the country, yeah? And then Raj, the PNM doing that. This is a PNM manifesto, eh? Right. We're going again. Page 50. All right, so we touched on page 50, but that's where they will step away from government interference. So they're not even interested in making any contribution whatsoever. Get rid of management totally. However, all they want to run these companies, run it. Just pay us taxes and royalties and dividends on your profits. You all know whenever you talk about restructuring, the first thing that has happened is people has lost their work, right? Because you need to turn this into a lean, mean money-making machine. And therefore, if it is as they are saying here, we will step away from any government interference in these state enterprises and negotiate performance contracts with successful private companies to ensure that these entities are run efficiently. So when you step away, government not interfere. So if it is that we put these companies into the hands of the private sector to run, to manage it, and they decide that they want to cut the labor force and send people home, we can't help all with that. We have divorced, so we divorce ourselves from that. Hard luck. That's what they're telling you inside here. However they want to run it, let them run it. So if it is that they just want to buy up the state enterprises and for the assets, and they want to get rid of the staff, no problem. And incorporate it because they want to use some of their staff that they have to run these things, no problem. We get rid of all it. But they're talking about, we created 55,000 jobs and put us back in office and we'll create another 50,000 jobs. Yeah, another 50,000 jobs. But you plan to sell out all of these state enterprises and expect, even if you sell Wassa, for years we hear in Wassa is overstaffed. You really feel a private company coming to keep all them staff? You're mad? You're crazy? That is just like Petrotrin, which just said was overstaffed by probably over 2,000 workers. Yeah? The Jamnagar oil refinery in India, refining over 1 million barrels of oil per day, had a staff of less than 2,000. They're refining over 1 million barrels. We refining just 140,000 barrels of oil per day at the refinery back then. And Petrotrin had close to 5,000 employees to refine 140,000 barrels. But in India, the largest oil refinery, over 1 million barrels per day, and they're doing that with 2,000 or less workers. Who is this calling me now? I continue. Let me see page 53. I'm quoting the pages for you so you can go and see it for yourself, right? A new UNC government will, right. Here it is. Let me get this here. Right. This deals with the taxes. They will strengthen, re-engineer, and transform the Board of Inland Revenue, the VAT Office, Customs, and Excise, right? So no TTRA. The institutional strengthening is important to improve revenue collection and address weaknesses in the tax administration and compliance. We will scrap the proposed revenue authority. The minister in his presentation confessed that the BIR has demonstrated the capability and capacity for efficient tax administration. So we don't need a revenue authority. Okay. We will scrap the property tax. So we heard that in 2010. That was one of the things that they used to get into office, and then they didn't do that, right? They tell us that we will repeal the Property Tax Act. Never happened. They lie, but Rowley does lie. They will reduce personal income taxes, review income tax regime to alleviate the overall tax burden on the most vulnerable and low-income citizens. Really? 2010 to 2015, they didn't touch that. Not with a 1,000-foot pole. No tax relief with respect to income tax payments. Keith Rowley came in and he did it not once, not twice, but 3 times. Increase your personal allowance from 60,000 to 90,000. 3 times. 3 times in 7 years. Kamala was there, she didn't touch it. Didn't touch it, right? But you're coming now to talk about reduced personal income taxes. Miss Lady, done. Keith Rowley and the PNM, done did that. Move with that. Reduce corporation taxes. This is on page 53, right? Businesses will pay between 18 and 20% corporate tax rate. Right now, they're paying 30 and 35. So they will reduce it to 18 and 20, almost half. Okay, that's what they're saying here. But Rowley want to make the rich richer. Yeah, Rowley want to make the businessmen richer. So Rowley's saying, pay me 30% and 35% of your profits every year in tax to the treasury. Kamala saying, no, we don't want so much. Just give us 18 and 20. But Rowley wants to make the rich richer. Yeah? So Kamala saying to Mr. Mute, for every Starbucks that you open and you're making profit there, I only want 18%. Rowley taking 30 from you, but I only want 18. Because Rowley want to make you richer by taking more from you. But I will make you poorer by taking less. That is Kamlamatics, UNC logic, right? She's saying to Mr. Sabgabood, for every rituals outlet that you open and you're making profit, I only want 18% of your profits. Rowley taking 30 and 35, right? Because Rowley want to make the rich richer. That's always make the rich richer, by taking more from them under Kamlamatics. So every time the Answer Makal group decides that they want to expand and open some new business, or they want to take over some business, not just in Trinidad, but in the region, all of them who are running now to Guyana, because all of that is part of the consolidated revenue and profits of the year, right? So who opening business in Guyana? Massey Group and all of these different people. Movie Town, Dachin Enterprises and stuff who open Movie Town in Guyana because Mr. Chin is a Guyanese and all of that. And they're looking for business opportunities. Rams Logistics, who was caught up in some legal bacchanal recently, they're looking to establish a foothold. Sami, Jusamco, they paving in Guyana now. So they have a whole separate unit in Guyana, in US dollars. You know what she's saying to all of these people? I don't want 30% and 35% tax, corporation tax. I just want 18%. And I have certain things that are going to put in place. And if you all invest in that, well, I will cut your tax rate even more, right? So you don't have to pay me as much. The amount of money that I'm paying Rowley now in corporate tax, I want half of that or less. That's what she said. But don't worry, with the less tax that we will be collecting from you guys, we'll be doing more for the citizens of this country. So we cutting the receipts of the treasury, but we're going to do more, right? We're going to do more with less. But does Rowley want to make the rich richer? That wicked and evil Rowley want to make the rich richer. 30%. How we could do a thing like that? That's it. Like to make them richer. I 18%. You hearing that, Anra? You hear that? Not 18 for you, eh? You still have to pay 25% income tax. But your boss, company you're working for, he only paying 18% on his price. Thanks to your leader. Yeah, and you know why? And she says when it is that you cut the corporation tax, the savings, the tax savings, they're going to use that to build and expand the business. They will invest in the business. I can't talk about, I ain't gonna get into all of that today. I don't have enough time to show you the stupidity of this document that they call a manifesto. At every turn, they're contradicting themselves because you're putting one set of policies in place to do one thing, and then another set of policies that contradicts that policy. Makes no sense. But you know what? Verbiage. Because, we just had to produce a manifesto. And 3/4 of what inside here, the supporters ain't going to understand. This is why this very same document, Mariano Brown and Indira Sajiwa and Ali had to call it pie in the sky. Pie in the sky. And they pay for this. I continue. But here is good part. Dan Raj, I hope you're listening to this, right? To compensate for the removal of tax on income below 1 million. Yeah. So if you're earning income below $1 million as a business, apparently they want to remove taxes altogether. Import duties will be raised. Yes. Page 54 of the UNC manifesto. To compensate for the removal of tax on income below 1 million, import duties will be raised. Import duties, right? This country where they complaining, we have a food import bill of $5 billion a year. We're going to increase import duties on that. Import duties. So you're paying, all the people who importing stuff to sell in the grocery will be paying more in duties. So what do you think going to happen? They're going to absorb that? You feel they're going to say, well, corporation tax cut to 18%. So we have a little window. Yeah, we could absorb the increase in import duties. No. You feel stupid? We saving. If they feel they're going to take back that money that we saving in corporation tax, they lie. We will simply increase the price of our goods to compensate for the duties. So we could keep every penny of the tax savings that we get. That is logic, UNC logic for you. Dave Tanku, the economist, that making sense to he. Certain basic food, not all, certain basic food, medicines, and essential items will be exempt from import duties to ensure affordability to the poor and the most vulnerable. Certain, but not all. Right? Right. So we will increase import duties to make up. So we're giving the rich a big tax break. And in order to compensate for the money that we're losing on that big tax break, we're going to break the back of the poor. Increase import duties and drive up the price of goods and services. That is UNC logic. That making sense. That making sense. Mm-hmm. We're going again. The common practice of treating interest on CARICOM countries' bonds as tax exempt would be stopped to ensure government receives its due share of taxes. So over 8 billion in taxes have been lost from this tax loophole, and the common practice of laundering taxable profits via offshore institutions will be investigated and legislation introduced to bring closure to such practices. We can raise 4.5 billion to 7.5 billion in domestic revenues per year by improving the efficiency of the tax system and through the institutional reforms. No revenue authority is needed. Really? So for 5 years between 2010 to 2015, they didn't know how to fix the BIR. In fact, David Abdullah, the political leader of the MSJ, is on record as saying that he had a conversation with one of the two ministers of finance under the People's Partnership, right? With respect to this very issue about tax evasion and the amount of money that the country was losing in tax leakage with tax evasion, right? And he asked the minister, so why can't you all fix the problem? And what David Abdullah is on record as having said? The minister told him, we can't fix it because it's our people doing it. Our people, PP supporters, are the main culprits when it comes to tax evasion. That's what David Abdullah said. Not me say so. He says so on many an occasion. But they want to come and tell you now, yeah, put us back and we're going to fix all the leakage problems in the Board of Inland Revenue. We don't need no revenue authority. Yeah. So the broken thing, we could just put two plaster here and probably do a little stitching, yeah, and we call that judge, and the problem solved. Meanwhile, just last week, you had an employee in the Board of Inland Revenue charged for stealing over $1.2 or so million, right? And this went undetected for several months. I think it probably close to a year or something. So she was responsible for depositing the monies in the bank when they collect cash, when people go down to the Board of Inland Revenue to pay their taxes and whatever other fees and stuff that they have to pay. And cash receipts, right? She gerrymandering the thing, thieving the cash. Over $1 million deposited into her personal bank account. $1 million of monies that was paid to the Board of Inland Revenue, tax revenue. But we don't need that ETRA to tighten the belt on these things so that you can't thief. That these things can be picked up in the space of a day or two. The reconciliation processes could take place such that if somebody thief money of that nature, that within a few days you will find out. Over $1 million, and she get a slap on the wrist. A plea deal, she agreed to pay, I think, $300,000 in restitution or some kind of something, so on, whatever. And they give her a period of time to pay it back and whatnot. People are asking the question, did she pay back the money that was stolen? I don't know, but according to them, we don't need to, nah. We got two plaster, and we good to go. Let's see what's the time there. All right. I'm going to just give you a couple more before I open the lines, right? I want to touch on this one. I will close on this one. I hope you're listening to this one, Dan Raj. And anybody else. Yeah? I hope you're listening to this one. Monetary and exchange rate policy, page 56. Page 56. Hear this one. The UNC recognizes that the conduct of monetary and exchange policy falls exclusively under the purview of the central bank. A new UNC government will commit to the following to help protect our country's external position. Work with the central government, or the central bank, to ensure a competitive exchange rate. Let me repeat that. Work with the central bank to ensure a competitive exchange rate. The Ministry of Finance will work with the central bank to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago's exchange rate is competitive, eliminating the current dirty managed float and allowing market forces to operate within a crawling band. The transition to a more balanced foreign exchange market will be supported by an opening up of the foreign market allocation system to allow for a far more equitable distribution of foreign exchange, especially to small and medium businesses and the general public. You know what I'm telling you there? Dan Raj? Since you probably understand, let me give you it in Saddam Hussein style. You know what it's saying there? We will remove the current dirty managed float, Dan Raj. You know what that means? I'm telling you so you can go back and tell your colleagues. It has nothing to do with race. All right? We don't deal with that here. Your colleagues in the UNC. Let me tell you what that means. Right now, what the government does is use the country's foreign reserves to provide supply to the banks to keep the exchange rate where it has been for the past few years. Because when this administration came in 2015, the exchange rate was about 656, 660 thereabout. The Minister of Finance, Colin Booth, even before he became Minister of Finance, indicated that should the PNM win, the government would be prepared to use the country's foreign reserves to defend the exchange rate. Right? They will allow it to slide to about 679, 680. And once it gets to that point, then the government will intervene by using the foreign reserves to provide supply into the market so that we could manage the rate at about 679. Your UNC government, well, not government, your UNC party is telling us if you put them in office in 2025, you see that system that currently obtains, where the government will sell US from the country's foreign reserves to the commercial banks so that they could get that supply they need to taper off on demand and keep the exchange rate at about 674, 675, 679. They're going to do away with that. So no longer are they going to use the country's foreign reserves to sell to the commercial banks. So the commercial banks have to fight up. However, all they get the US, all they get it. If it is that all they have to go begging the energy companies to sell all their some, if it is that you all have to hope and pray every morning that people come in, foreigners come in and sell hard currency into the bank, right. But otherwise to that, we will not be using the reserves. We intend to build it back up. The PNM, draw it down, we will build it back up. And the only way we could do that is to stop the hemorrhage, to stop taking from it. So we just like to say we have billions of US sit down in the bank and we're watching it and we're glad. And it's nice. You know, like it has some people, when they get a little kakada in the bank account, they just like to go and push in the card to see the slip, to see that they have money. Well, that's what they're telling you. You have the reserves. You have a need for it in the economy, right? But we're not going to use it. We're just leaving it there for just to have it, to say we have it. So we can beat our chest and say our country's foreign reserves is 11 billion and 12 billion, and it was under UNC government that it got so high. But we're not using it. So what is the point of having it? That's like you have money sit down in the bank. And TNTech come to disconnect you because you haven't paid the bill. And your wife asking you, or your husband, well, why we ain't paying the bill? Have you had the money in the bank? Nah, I just like to see the money sit down in the bank, them and leader. Yeah, but they come to disconnect it. Well, let them disconnect it. So that's not the purpose of the money? No. I just like when I just to say that I have $50,000 sit down in the bank. Yeah, that is UNC policy. Don't use it. Don't use it for the purpose for which it was intended to use. Leave it there. And yeah, that making sense. And Dan Raj, yeah, that's UNC economic policy for you. So they said we will allow market forces to decide the exchange rate. So when there is no foreign reserves, no foreign exchange being sold to the commercial banks, you know what's going to happen? Well, demand and supply. The price of the US dollar will keep going up and up and up and up and up until it reaches the point where the demand tapers off, where people just can't afford to buy US dollars anymore. The amount that they could afford to buy is significantly reduced because of the price. And then the price will settle off at that point. Yeah? So that's what they're going to do. They're not going to intervene. Remove the dirty flow that has been around for years. Since during 2010 to 2015, it was there too. But they say no more. We're going to get rid of that. And let the market forces decide. So when you see all of a sudden the price goes from 675, 678, 679, as we become accustomed to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 TT to 1 US. Where feel going to happen? Yeah, the foreign exchange and run to Trinidad and invest in Trinidad. Yeah, because hey, cheap again. Yeah, it good is 12 TT to 1 US, or no? Yeah, let me go and invest there. That's what they're telling you. Meanwhile, everything, the 5 billion food import bill will now grow to about 10 billion. Because it's double, right? And all you who like to shop online, yeah, it's more expensive now. So, whereas before, now you're liking yourself because it's just 670 something. When it reached 10, 11, and $12 TT to 1 US, all them things you like to see online, you have to get rid of your Amazon account. That makes sense. Yeah. Price of everything gonna go up, of course. The price of food, all the imported foods, all who like your strawberries and your macadamia nuts and so on, all these different things, your foreign cereals and all of that, yes, price going up. But they ain't telling the supporters that, but it's right there in their manifesto. But they know they will look at that and they ain't seeing that. They ain't seeing that. Because apparently when they get a copy of the manifesto, it's just for them to use it to fan themselves in the heat in the Monday Night Forum meeting. It's not a read, it's the fan. Yeah. The transition to a more balanced foreign exchange market will be supported by the opening up of the foreign market allocation system. The same thing they did between 2010 to 2050, which was identified as contributing to the shortage. When their great central bank governor, Jawala Rambaran, decided that he was going to open up the market, right, liberalize the market, and give licenses to sell foreign exchange and to purchase from the central bank to every Tom, Dick, Harry, Jenny, and Jane. So people who never had license before, they get them license. On the pretext, well, you know that by opening up, if it is you can't get it from the bank and you're a little small business owner, it have other places that you could go to, right? Who are these others? Some of them we don't even know. All kind of fly-by-night people who's getting license. You really feel that you the average citizen, could just go in there and buy? Obviously not. They're keeping it for themselves. And tell you, no, we don't have. No, we don't have. Even though you hear that central bank made a release, no, we don't have. And who they giving it to? Or they holding on to it, waiting for the price, for the exchange rate to appreciate to $10 and $12, and then all of a sudden you have a flood of US money market, everybody coming to sell what they hoard in so that they can make a significant profit, 100% profit. So I buy it for $6 and 75 cents, or $6.80 in the bank. I hold on to it for a few months. Exchange rate goes up to $10, $12, and then I come now and I sell it, and I make $5, $6 in profit on that. That they call proper monetary and fiscal policy. You're not that much. Not Keith Rowley saying that. Keith Rowley saying we want to keep it at 680, 679. Kamala saying no, we're not about that. We will grow the foreign exchange reserves and we will allow the market to determine the price of US. Understand that even if once that happens, put God out all into it, and then they eventually lose government and another government comes back into place, it will be very difficult for them to reverse something like that. Very difficult. So in no way in hell, if it is the price of US at TT to US, if it goes to 10 TT, let's say, to 1 US, it will be very difficult for any government coming in after that to take it all the way back down to 675, 680. Understand that. And since it's already in place well, and people get accustomed, you just leave it so. There's only so much you can do. Right? But this is UNC policy. Let's see what's the time there. If I have time for one more. All right, one more quick one. Here it is. More UNC policy. This is what the economists in the UNC offering. They are bright people like Jawala Rambaran. Request the central bank to raise interest rates. We acknowledge monetary policy considerations by the central bank are always finely balanced amongst lowering inflation, safeguarding the balance of payments, and supporting economic growth. The Ministry of Finance will request the central bank to have monetary policy cooperate with fiscal policy as far as possible by raising the repo rate. They will send a signal for the transmission of higher and rising interest rates throughout the financial system, including an increase in savings and deposit rates. Higher domestic interest rates will help to limit capital outflows and improve foreign exchange availability. It would also help depositors and pension funds struggling with real negative returns in the low interest rate environment of the past decade. The UNC recognizes the need for closer coordination between fiscal and monetary policy to achieve and maintain macroeconomic stability. Even a Form 4 economic student could tell you that is rubbish. A Form 4 economic student could tell you that. Right? Especially if you in CIC. I just had to put that as a plug there, right? Yeah. Put in a plug for my alma mater now. Well, you understand the implications of that? They will tell the central bank to increase interest rates. First of all, the central bank cannot tell commercial banks to increase the interest rates. What the central bank can do is to increase the repo rate. And by increasing the repo rate, the only rates that will increase in the banks is the lending rates, right? The repo rate is the rate at which the central bank lends money to the commercial banks and so on. So if it is that you charging us more, we have to charge more to make the interest to pay you. And here it is that they are saying they will tell the central bank to increase interest rates, and that is supposed to have a spill-off effect that when the central bank increase interest rates, the repo rate, as they mention here, that the commercial banks will also increase the rates on savings and deposits. Let me explain something to it. The banks make money through the rates that they charge on loans, through their service fees, and so on, right? Main way they make their money. If it is that you are telling the banks that they have to increase the rates that they offer on your savings and deposits, then the banks will ask where we're supposed to get the money from to do that. Because you're telling us, pay our customers more interest on their savings account. Pay our customers more on their deposits, if it is a fixed deposit or whatever. But the money had to come from somewhere. Banks are in the business of making money, making profits for their shareholders. If you are telling us to pay higher interest rates, then the only way we could facilitate these higher interest rates on savings and deposits so that we make more money off of our loan portfolio, and we could now use that increase in order to provide higher rates on savings and deposits. So now it's going to become more expensive for you to borrow. So all of you who have mortgages with the banks, especially if it's a variable rate mortgage, right? You will find that under the UNC, your monthly mortgage installment payments will go up. Because in order for the banks to be able to pay, to satisfy the mandate that has been given to them, to pay more interest on savings accounts and more interest on deposits, they will have to increase the loan interest rates. So you adjust based on your salary to pay this amount of money for your mortgage every month. And all of a sudden you get a notice on the bank telling you your interest rate payment, your mortgage payments have gone up because interest rates have gone up. How are you supposed to deal with that? But they're so concerned, cost of living, under the PNM, people suffering. You go into the bank to buy a car. Interest rates gone up. So when they told you before that this is what the installment would be, and you say, right, I can handle that. I just need to save up the deposit now, the down payment. I check in all the back in 6 months. And they come back in 6 months under UNC government, and they tell you, well, here, what now? Interest rates going up now. So your installment going up too. All of a sudden now, the installment, send up your DSR, you no longer qualify for the loan. Because you had to pay more now. So whereas before, the previous installment that I told you was within your 40% DSR, now it is no longer. Now it is no longer. So you don't qualify for the loan. Or if you do, well, it's a little more, your kakada had to go towards car payments, the loan payment. Because the UNC is telling you, yes, we will tell the central bank to increase interest rates. That making sense. Now, if it is that they are successful in getting the banks to increase the deposit rates and the savings rates, it is still going to have a negative impact on the economy. Because by increasing interest rates on savings and deposit accounts, what happens? It is an inducement for people to save more and spend less. And if people know that they're getting significant high interest rates in the bank, then instead of spending the money, when they go and they deposit because they're making interest, it is going to result in stagflation in the economy, people not spending the money. So they want to cut corporate tax rates to encourage businesses to invest that savings, to expand their businesses, to produce more. But nobody buying because you increase interest rates in the bank and encouraging people to save more rather than spend more. So business community saving on their taxes, but hey, they realize, but wait, all this money we saving in taxes and the bank paying high interest rates. Well, instead of investing that money in business and waiting how long to get a return, the better we just pump that money into the bank and the savings and deposits, so we can take advantage of the high interest rates. Did that make sense to them? They said here, but it's going to higher domestic interest rates will help to limit capital outflows and improve foreign exchange availability. So in other words, if interest rates in the banking sector in Trinidad and Tobago is high, then people don't need to run away. They don't need to leave the country and send the money abroad. You could invest it here, right? And then that will also encourage foreigners who are looking for higher interest rates to invest the US in Trinidad. But then when the bank is flooded with all of this money and nobody borrowing because interest rates are so high, too expensive to borrow, the bank is going to have billions of dollars just sitting down in the coffers doing nothing, earning no interest. Where the interest coming from to pay these higher rates? And people like Jawala Rambaran, and up until recently, Tahaka Obika is economists. And they produce this and tell you this is good governance. Vote for this. That making sense. And that making sense. Yes. A set of words. Verbiage. Oh, yes. You're reading that and you're saying this making sense. But you understand how they plan it? This is a recipe for disaster. You want to collapse an economy? Do this. Do this if you want to collapse an economy. This making no sense. One policy contradicting the next. It's just a whole hodgepodge of nonsense. That's like you're making a pilau and you're putting cow heel, you're putting pig foot, chicken foot. What else it have? You're putting curry powder, cayenne pepper, soy sauce, you name it, hoisin sauce, chasu sauce, all kind of sauce in this pilau. How you expect that to taste? Yeah, be enjoying that, and that is what this is. This is UNC policy for you. This is how they plan to manage your economy and give you better service than what the PNM is giving you. Folks, it is 8:26. Let me take a few calls here before 9 o'clock because I had to go and do the people work. But I have plenty more. I ain't reached the airport yet. We'll deal with that on Thursday. Hopefully I can reach the airport because I'm going to tell you, it's just 126 speeds of rush. 1 second. Let me get this here. Hello, good morning. Morning, sir.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy your holiday that went yesterday.
I did.
Yeah, I just wanted to say here, listen, I'm always saying something, and I learned that from you. To me, UNC, you gotta be a sick man to follow the UNC. UNC policies from ever since, I don't know, like revenue is not